for individuals.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I have to send that. I was like, oh, I've got a calendar.
Yeah. You already have one?
I mean, you told me I did, but I don't think I've ever checked it and or sent or received anything from it.
So.
Yeah, I mean, you may be able to see it's probably the one. I mean, unless there's an inbox of things that come in. Okay. Wallenberg, yeah. I guess 3 Johns, you gotta keep that. Three Johns, you gotta keep straight. It's unique. Good. And then, so this will be.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, John. This is Tim.
Great. I'm glad you're on board. I think we'll go ahead and get started then. Are we rolling back there? Okay. Welcome to the first Parks Board meeting of the year of 2022. And due to the governor's recent order on COVID protocols, we're doing this meeting both in live and we're streaming it as well. And we have one board member and one staff member who are streaming with us as part of this meeting right now. We have 4 board members present. We're going to go ahead and take roll to begin. Sarah Moore.
Here.
Jill Pack.
Here.
John Wollenberg.
Here.
Tim Cassidy.
Here.
And I am here as well. We're missing John Salowitz and Aaron Bidwell, and we'll just go ahead and continue with our meeting. Since this is the first meeting of the year, we need to elect officers. And in order to make sure everything's on the up and up, I'm going to defer to this part of the meeting right now. I'm going to defer to our senior board member, John Wollenberg, and we'll do public comments after that. So, John, take it away.
So to kick off our election of our 2022 board members for officers, we will now accept nominations for president. Do I have a nomination?
I would like to nominate John Stair.
And I would second that nomination. Are there any other nominations? Do we have any questions or comments regarding such nomination? Hearing none, I would accept a vote. So starting with Sarah Moore,
Aye.
Jill Pack,
Aye.
Tim Cassidy.
Aye.
I would also vote aye.
I'll vote aye as
You
well.
vote aye as
And
well.
I appreciate the confidence. Thank you very much.
So
All right.
being unanimous, John Stair is elected our president going forward.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. All right, the next thing on the agenda then would be electing a vice president. And the floor is now open for nominations for vice president. Anyone?
I'll nominate Jill.
I'll go ahead and I'll nominate Jill Pack as vice president.
I'll second that then.
Okay, we have a second from John Wollenberg, and let's take a vote on that. Sarah Moore,
Aye.
John Wollenberg,
Aye.
Tim Cassidy.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Jill, you want to get on the record?
I vote aye.
All right, so we have a vice president, Jill Pack, that's passes unanimously. And the next item is to elect a secretary. Do we have any nominations from the floor for secretary?
I would nominate John Wollenberg.
All right, we have a nomination for John Wollenberg. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Sarah Moore seconds. Do we have anyone else to nominate for secretary? All right, then we'll go ahead and take a vote. Sarah Moore,
Aye.
Jill Pack,
Aye.
Tim Cassidy.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. And John, I want to put you on the record too.
I'll vote aye.
All right, so we have our slate of officers now for 2022. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to jump back to the top of the agenda here and ask about public presentations or comments. I don't see anyone in the room here that might be ready to do that. Do we have anybody online for a public presentation? All right, we do not. So we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is the Parks Board Legal Counsel. In the packets that were sent to everyone, you saw a letter from Roger Burris indicating that he is not putting himself forward to be.
Minutes. December minutes.
Oh, we should do the minutes first. Thank you, Jill. I appreciate that. All right, let's take a look at the minutes from our December 8th meeting. Does anyone have any changes to make to the minutes?
I had 2 minor ones. Under the approval of the prior month's minutes, it says it was approved unanimously, but myself and John Salowich abstained because we had not been at the meeting.
Okay,
And then the first line of new business refers to the gold course. And I believe that's supposed to be golf course.
all right.
We could
Thank you.
amend.
Is there anything else? Any other changes to the minutes? Okay, do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
Excuse
with
me, John, I
those-
have two minor points, if I could interject. And
Okay.
one is that they note that I was present virtually via Zoom. I think the mechanism of virtual attendance needs to be noted. And also that the minutes note that all votes taken at that meeting were done by roll call.
Just to make sure we get on record with that. Good idea. Okay. Anyone else have any changes to the minutes? Do we have a motion then to approve the minutes with those minor changes?
A motion to approve the minutes with the amended changes.
Okay, I'll go ahead and second that, and we'll take a roll call vote. Sarah Moore,
I abstain. I wasn't here.
Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Mullenberg,
Aye.
Tim Cassidy,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. So that passes with a vote of 4 to nothing with 1 abstainment. That should be enough for a quorum. All right, so the next item on the agenda is the Park Board Legal Counsel. And in the packet of information that was sent earlier, we all saw a letter from Roger Burris indicating that he would not be putting himself forth for consideration to be reappointed this year. And to that end, we have with us tonight Amy Nooning, who is ready to step up and fill that role. And I've asked her to come and say a few words to us before we vote on her qualifications and what she would like to bring to that role. So Amy, you want to step up and speak?
John, if I could interrupt really quickly before Amy speaks, just publicly to thank Roger for his years of service. He's been here a long time and he's lended his considerable knowledge of Zionsville and the goings on of Zionsville. I know as a board, we all have appreciated his service. So thank you, Roger.
Absolutely. And we, for our December meeting, or I'm sorry, February meeting, the first order of business in that meeting is going to be honoring Roger appropriately for 35 years of service to the board. So stand by for more information on that. I will, message everybody about that before that happens. But yes, you're right that he deserves that and will certainly be honored appropriately at our
Thanks,
next
Amy.
meeting.
Sorry for the delay.
Good evening, everybody. It's nice to meet you all. I think I've met most of you in various contexts over Zoom, maybe over the past couple of years, but I'm meeting some of you for the first time tonight. So it's nice to meet you. I'm the town's general counsel, and I've represented the town and all the town departments for the past couple of years. I've represented other local Boone County towns and their departments, and oftentimes their park boards as needed for the past 10-ish years or so. I've worked quite a bit over the past couple of years alongside Roger and Jared with various items, contract reviews, collaboration on some land acquisition. As you know, park initiatives oftentimes have a lot of crossover with other departments and require a degree of collaboration. So we've done that very successfully over the past couple of years. So I'm really just here to answer any questions that you have. I would be honored to serve as your legal counsel going forward.
Does anybody have any questions?
Like there's any, with all that we have going on, is there anything that you strike you as new that you haven't done in the past that, you see as a possible challenge going forward?
Not that I'm aware of, no. I mean, I talked with Roger a little bit last week and he brought me up to speed on some of the items that I hadn't already been up to speed on. They all seem, very familiar to me, familiar type of items. He's working on a few land acquisitions, which seem to be the primary focus right now and kind of your most pressing legal need. And contract reviews. We talked about some land donation issues. So I'm very comfortable with what I've heard so far. Not that there wouldn't be something new and that keeps things interesting, but
There are a couple of items that are, what, about 98% finished, but not completely over the finish line yet.
right.
How are those things going to be taken care of so that they get to the finish line in
Sure.
the next couple of months?
Yep, that's exactly right. Roger and I talked particularly about the 4 land acquisitions, and he says that they're about 98% of the way there. He has completed most of the documentation. The last step that is required there is to get the title companies involved and get some closings scheduled, which Roger says could be done by the end of this month. And he's offered to finish those out. He has all the experiential knowledge with those. And so I think to me, it makes the most sense to have Roger finish those out. I'd like to shadow him and kind of work alongside him for those, just so I can get up to speed on the details. So if something happens in the future with those, then I'm aware of all the details of the transaction, but he's offered, and it makes sense to me if that's what the board would desire, to have him finish those out here for this month.
And, you mentioned that you've done work for other town departments. And, this board is an independent board and we value our independence. So could you speak to the idea that there may or may not be any conflict of interest there for you working for other town departments as well as for the board?
Sure. Well, you're right. You are an independent decision-making body. You're statutorily created with statutory rights and responsibilities and duties, and those are very clearly delineated in the statutes. I can't foresee there being any situation that would pose a conflict of interest between the park board and the town. I'm not aware of there ever being something like that. Should that unlikely event occur, I would want to know if anybody thought that was coming up right away. So it would be something that we could address. And in the very, very unlikely situation that would ever rise to like a litigation or something, then I wouldn't be able to represent either side, in something like that. Again, I don't foresee any of that. I don't have anything in my mind that sticks out as potentially causing a conflict of interest. So, yep.
Anyone have anything else?
No, we've worked together through the library, so
Yes.
I think you're a good choice.
Tim?
Yeah, no comments. Any other conflicts? I guess what would the process be, Amy? You would just notify us if you saw a conflict coming, as we would, might notify you as well. And then we'd have to decide what goes from there.
Sure. Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what I would encourage. If anybody ever, could foresee something like that happening or it was brewing, then I would want to know right away if I hadn't brought it to your attention first. But yes, if there was anything like that would come up that I would identify, I would bring it straight to you.
All right. So would anyone then, if there are no further comments, would anybody like to make a motion that we bring in Amy as our board legal counsel for 2022?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Sarah Moore has made that motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Jill Pack seconds. So let's take a roll call vote. Let's start with Jill Pack,
Aye.
Sarah Moore,
Aye.
John Wallenberg,
Aye.
Tim Cassidy.
Aye.
I say aye as well, and that makes it unanimous. Welcome to the job as legal counsel for the Parks Board for 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. I look forward to working with you all.
Are you going to come and join us up here now?
Sure, I'd be happy
Okay,
to.
great. All right, we're moving through this pretty well tonight. The next item on the agenda is the 2021 year-end review and also the breakdown of the recently completed Winterfest, which I think Jared's going to tell us went pretty well.
Spoilers, yeah, it went pretty
So
well.
there's our Superintendent Jared Logston.
Thank you, John. So yes, it's our time of year to look back at all the things we accomplished in 2021 and also begin to look into 2022 at some of the initiatives we're going to continue. So I just want to go back to that photo. That was taken live this year at Winterfest. So as you can see, people were having a great time.
We're not seeing your screen.
Is there any way we could get the presentation on the monitors? Okay. Yep.
Minor technical difficulties tonight. Yep, we're back up. Perfect. All right.
There it is.
Back to business now. So again, want to thank everyone for Winterfest, and there was a great time had, and we'll talk about that a little bit more throughout the presentation. Begin with some of the capital projects that were accomplished this year. Heritage Trail Park Phase 2, which added an accessible playground for ages 6 to 12, expanded our parking lot, added a roadside pathway, and accessible sidewalks throughout the park. So we're happy to complete that second phase, and this year we'll look into completing the final component, which is the hoop house that was to be built by staff. We also opened up our Heritage Trail Dog Park on February 3rd with over 500 dogs registered for this initial year. So maintenance has been monitoring our use each day, making sure we're not overcrowding, and we have successfully opened this application process up to over 566 dogs. So other improvements within the Heritage Trail Dog Park this year were 2 drinking fountains for both the dogs and our patrons, as well as just drainage improvements and some additional tree plantings. So we've had a great response from our dog park in this first year of operation. Some projects that are still actively buttoning up is the Lions Park tennis court and pickleball resurfacing. So the dedicated pickleball court was completed, and the resurfacing on the tennis courts with the pickleball lines for hybrid courts. The gate to the new pickleball court has still not arrived. We have been experiencing supply chain issues across the board for all of our projects. So we're hoping that one wraps up Q1 of this year. The Starkey SB3 staircase replacement. If you recall, the stairs that were in place for SB3 were quite treacherous and hard to traverse. So with this project, we have new engineered wooden steps that are both people and dog friendly to get patrons down from the parking lot into the lower park. So that project is built, and we are just awaiting on aluminum handrails, which again have been a victim of the supply chain shortages. So we are expected to have a walkthrough mid-February for the completion of that project. We'll probably leave that trail closed through the spring so the seeds can germinate properly and we can get some coverage. but looking to add that back into the community this year. The golf course cart path improvement project is underway. This began in October of 2021, and we were able to make some great headway in the back half of the golf course, as well as worked with some synergy with Duke as they cleared out invasive honeysuckle. So one of our 2022 priorities is for golf course maintenance to kind of hold the line on that right of way where the honeysuckle has a strong seed bank. So we're going to try to keep that cleared and hopefully allow a couple of native species to start gaining some footholds. And the final active project right now is the Southern Rail Trail expansion. So recall this project began September, and we identified a unknown water line from 1937. We did coordinate with Citizens Energy and get that rerouted, and the project has resumed. So we are looking at a Valentine's Day gift of the bridge opening back up, and then we will do the paving this spring as the asphalt plants open back up. So we also have Overly Warman Park, which is moving along. The groundbreaking was March 8th, 2021, and the pedestrian bridge from the rail trail down into the park was completed in October, and that was quite the sight to see, as you can reference that photo. The mountain bike trails were completed in November, and they look stunning. We're excited for the community to start enjoying them. And we are still anticipating a spring 2022 open. So one of the main things left in the park is that asphalt and concrete paving and pouring. So once temperatures begin to rise up again, we will get that in place. This does offer an opportunity for both the Southern Rail Trail and Overly Warman to open together. So it'll be kind of like a ribbon cutting for the southern half of our park system. Now we'll give a little review of the golf course season. Mike Wall is not able to be here with us tonight, so I'm going to present for him. So Zionsville Golf Course had a record year in our 2021 season with a 28.5% increase compared to our 2020 revenues, which was also a record year. So with COVID, one of the silver linings, an actual good thing to come from it, is the fact that people have reintroduced themselves to golf, and there's a new nationwide trend of people finding courses and enjoying the sport again. So we are averaging approximately $2,100 in revenue a day, which again is up from our 2020 estimates. A little note of comparison, our decade average from 2009 to 2019 was approximately $245,000 in revenue. So we are seeing a 76% increase over these last 2 years. So that's great news for our course as we continue to update some of the older features and invest new resources into making it the best experience for our residents. There were over 18,000 rounds of golf played in 2021. And I think that's quite astonishing considering we did close about a month and a half early. So quite the accomplishment for Mike and his team out there. That's a 12% increase from last year as well. Speaking of Mike and his team, there were over 30 seasonals hired throughout the season. And we are happy to report that their compensation was increased 45% for both pro shop and maintenance staff. And that is a result of the 2020 compensation study that was conducted via the town. And this was long overdue, so we're happy to make that adjustment for our teams. Looking at the numbers across the board, revenues within their respective items were up, except for our pull carts. And one of the reasons for that might be that rather than a pull cart, people are enjoying our new cart fleet, which have no duct tape, no holes in the seats. They are looking fantastic. The golf course hosted 8 outings, and they've already booked 8 outings for 2022. We do try to limit the number of outings in a year, so we're not closing the course on the weekends so the public can still enjoy them. So that number could be much larger if we had pursued that. The Junior Golf League, this is its 2nd year of operation and had 48 junior golfers competing in it, which is up 8 from last year. So happy to see them participating in the sport out at the field. And the Zionsville Golf Course also hosted 4 leagues this year, and we are anticipating our first Zionsville Open for the 2022 season. As I mentioned, we have the new cart fleet, which is more fuel efficient, and we were delivered in April, just at the start of the season, and that is a 5-year lease. Also out at the site, the cart improvement path that is ongoing that began in October. So speaking with the contractor, making sure we are finishing that project as soon as possible so we don't impact our 22 season. Now I'll turn it over to our Director of Maintenance, Greg Dickinson. Greg joined the department about 4 months ago and has had an incredible impact in the morale and production from our team, and we're just so happy to have him. So I'll turn it over to Greg.
Thanks, Jared. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
We're good. Good evening, everybody. So just to kind of highlight the great work that our maintenance department does, we'll start with by the numbers. 41 hours of professional development. A lot of that was in certified playground safety inspection training, and then some CPR, first aid. 234 hours of landscape maintenance. A lot of that is mowing and maintaining our beds and landscaped areas. 70 hours of invasive management. A big part of that was when we found some Japanese stilt grass at Starkey Park, and we worked on eradicating that, and then also assisting with a lot of the projects that our contractors have been doing to eradicate the bush honeysuckle and other invasives along our trail systems. We had 740 hours of volunteer maintenance. One big program was the ARC program that assists people with special needs and disabilities to get them out in the community and give them training and be a productive member of society. So they helped a lot with weeding and maintaining a lot of our park areas, especially out of Heritage Trail Park. And our other big success for the season in November was our weed wrangle programs. We had 2 of them. One at Carter Station, and then another at Creekside. Yep. So those are pretty successful. And then the great thing out of it all is we had 0 days missed due to injuries. So we're staying safe, working smart, and accomplishing a lot. So I've talked to our team, and I've only been here for 4 months. So some of the things that they're proud of that they accomplished before I got here was the rerouting of 150 foot of trail on EC1 at Starkey Park along the creek due to stream bank erosion. It was beginning to become an issue of safety and erosion along the creek, so they decided to reroute it, and they did an excellent job of clearing out a path and a safe path. And with doing so, it'll help kind of eliminate some of that erosion from the traffic of people walking along there, and hopefully stabilize the stream bank some more. And then moving on in the fall, we had a pretty busy fall season. There's a lot of different things going on besides our normal daily tasks, but just to highlight a few, through the IDEM grant, we received some recycling, receptacle and trash multi-bins, recycling receptacles that we placed out in the parks, I think at Heritage Trail Park, Mulberry Fields, and Elm Green, and then we'll have one going Overly when it's finished. Also through that program, another thing the guys accomplished is where they installed our garden waste corrals at each of our community gardens, so that the gardeners can put their waste in there, and we can collect it and then take it out to be composted at our site at Perkins. And then just to touch on our weed wrangles again, to show you how successful we had it, we had over 50 volunteers, and there was over 18 truckloads of invasive brush that we removed out of there. And then actually there was some more that we chipped on site and hauled away later. So it was a pretty successful program. Between all that, we were also able to get into some tree plantings. We planted 15 trees. Most of them were at the Hastings Trail Park and along the dog park area. And a few of them were memorial trees. We did place one down at the Nature Sanctuary, Zionsville Nature Sanctuary, and we replaced one over Elm Street Green. And then there was the ice rink platform construction. It was a tremendous job, and our guys worked tirelessly at it. It was a learning curve for all of us. It took a lot of skill and learning, and we were able to install it. We had a goal of having within 1/4 inch level from one corner to the other, that we had to go across an uneven parking lot, and actually we succeeded to actually be a little bit underneath that. So it was an awesome job, awesome project, and very proud of everybody for that.
Any questions for Greg? If not, his team did a fantastic job, and we're very happy to look into 2022 as we begin to diversify and incorporate natural resource management more into our maintenance practices. Thank you, Greg.
I think his efforts and the entire department's efforts have really shown themselves around the parks too.
Absolutely.
And just a shout out on that rink platform construction. That's going to be something that that's going to be the gift that keeps on giving in future years, and that will save us money as we prepare for future Winterfests as well. So the outlook next year will be a lot different than it was this year. So good on them. They really have worked hard and done a great job this year.
Absolutely. Reaching out into the community, we developed some new partnerships this year as well. For the first year, we partnered with the Zionsville Farmers Market and provided compost and recycling receptacles on site, as well as provided programming and pop-up events. So we were happy to have that partnership and look forward to that this year as well. We began to talk to our tenants over at Mulberry Field, the Maple Lawn Farmstead, which was a Depression-era farmstead that was saved from when the park was developed and became a 501c3 with their mission of expanding education surrounding that era's farming in Indiana. We also had a great opportunity to partner with the Hussey Mayfield Memorial Public Library and become their tenants as the Nature Center moved into the library. All reception I've heard is positive and glowing. It's a great partnership. Nature Center enthusiasts that come in might pick up a book and learn a little bit more about our library. And then some of our library patrons might peek their nose in and get a little bit of nature education on the way. So just a great location, great exposure to the public, and we thank the library for that.
Yeah, well, we thank you too. It's been great for all of us, and I need to do it more, but I like to go down there if I'm having a really stressful day, because it's really nice to hold a turtle when you're having a bad day.
Always helps to hold the turtle on a bad day. To speak more about our partnerships with the library and other programming is our Director of Recreation Services, Mindy Murdoch.
All right, good evening, everyone. So just kind of a quick overview of our recreational services for last year. We had over 384 programs throughout the year. Was broken down. We kind of keep a record of what was Nature Center and what is kind of the new outdoor rec division. And so we had 188 programs that were either at the Nature Center or led by our naturalist staff. 49 additional private group programs. Most of those were as part of the Nature Center, which would be scouts, schools, homeschool groups, things of that sort. And then 147 outdoor recreation programs. A lot of those were actually added the last month of the year with Winterfest. So, but you can tell that it was pretty much across the board with either Nature Center or rec that we made sure that we tried to keep the community occupied and busy through our programs. If you add in our program numbers plus the visitors to the Nature Center, we had 17,175 contacts through my part of the department. And then we also collected quite a nice amount of program fees. So little over 27,000 in program fees. Majority of that came through our summer camp programs and through our Winterfest programs. The nice thing with that is that allows us to have money then that we can invest back into to provide a lot of free programs throughout the year. So, and then of course we looked at expanding our marketing and kind of our reach within the community. And we did that through a lot of social media. So a lot of new firsts for last year with our new Zionsville Park and Rec Facebook. which was used a lot during Winterfest to try to get the information out to everybody. We started a YouTube channel, which has kind of been a platform for us to be able to record and then place a lot of the webinars that we've done over the last year. So you can always go in and they can watch about native plants, recycling, composting, and we actually have a couple coming up this month that will also go on there. So just a nice thing that we can continue to share that information out to the community. And then we started Instagram back in October, and we've already started to get quite a number of followers on our Instagram page. So moving into looking just at the Nature Center itself. The Nature Center had 8,635 walk-ins. To kind of give you an idea, we can't look at 2020, but we can look at 2019 to give a good comparison. Our total for the year of 2019 was just a little over 5,000. We also have to keep in mind that Nature Center actually didn't open at the library until mid-April. So we missed an entire, quarter of the year almost. But
it was COVID this year too, which we normally see a lot more people through our doors. So
oh yeah,
hopefully in future years.
That's right. Oh, I don't expect to, I expect it to continue to grow from there. But it, being in the new facility has allowed us to expand our open hours and also allow for us to do a lot of programming, not just on the weekends, but during the week, which was something we couldn't do before. Hired 2 new naturalist staff to join Rachel at the Nature Center. So we have our full-time naturalist, Molly Goodwin, and then our part-time naturalist that was hired just this fall, Sierra Stewart, who joined us. And then part of that, an important part of our my staff is to make sure that they are getting the training and certifications so that they can be of value to the community and to the department, as well as so that they can continue to grow as individuals. So we've got, Rachel did receive her Certified Heritage Interpreter through the National Association of Interpretation, which is a very nice certification to have. Molly and Sierra were able to join me at the EEAI conference for environmental education at Spring Mill State Park in the fall. And then also part of that conference, they were able to sit in on a community engagement guideline for excellence training through NAAEE, which is a nice training. It's a good way for them to look at how to continue to engage our community. And then of course,
what is NAAEE?
Oh goodness, now I gotta remember it again. It's a North American Association for Environmental Education.
Okay.
So yeah. You know us, we like to have lots of long-term things for conferences. And then also to add to that one, we did add a couple of new animals to our mix at the Nature Center. So we do have a California king snake that we added in the spring. His name is Elvis, if you haven't gone and visited him. And then we did get a gray rat snake, a very young hatchling, and we're actually right now having a Facebook of trying to come up with a name for the snake. So that should be announced next week. Some other program highlights that went on through last year, the opening of the Story Walk at Elm Street Green in partnership with the Hussey Mayfield Memorial Library. So that opened March 20th. And it was a nice addition, just be able to see the families out there and walking and enjoying that one. And also an opportunity to do programming, both the library and through our staff. We started a spring walking spree to kind of work with the dog walking spree in the fall called Step Into Spring, which really focused on our paved trails so that anybody could participate, whether it was a mom with strollers or someone with a cane. There was really no mileage. It was just to get people out and to enjoy the spring after being stuck inside for so long with COVID. We also expanded our summer camps. So we were able to offer 14 camps last year with over 280 children that registered for those camps. They all did fill. And a lot of those camps were our new rec-based camps. So we had our junior gardener, fishing fun, which unfortunately got canceled because it decided to pour the entire day. Spy camp, art adventures, and then summer venture, which was a week-long camp. And then we also had our Barns and Brews, which was a partnership with Maple Lawn Farmstead. So we had over 130 participants for the 2 dates, and we were able to raise a little over $1,000 that was donated to Maple Lawn for them to continue to use for the farmstead.
Those were great.
We've got 4 planned for this year,
Oh, good.
so.
Learned a lot.
A few more highlights. We did bring the Magical Park Digital Playground to Mulberry Fields, which was nice because it really didn't involve a whole lot of staff hours, but it was another way to, again, get out into the community and reach maybe groups that we hadn't before. So from August 1st, October 31st, we had over 560 people participate in that digital playground. And then we did our popular trick or trees. We moved it from the nature sanctuary, since the nature center had moved locations, to Elm Street Green, which actually allowed us to expand the program. So we had over 400 people kind of walk through and enjoy. You can see there, we're doing a little bit mad scientist experiments with the kids. And then of course, Winterfest, which in total had 39 programs going on at Mulberry Fields, and we had a little over 2,000 participants in those programs. And speaking of Winterfest.
That's one scary witch there at that trick or trees.
That is me.
I know.
384 programs with a staff of 5 people. That's more than a program a day that they were able to pull off. So my hat is off, and want to thank Mindy and her team. Where our maintenance team improves the quality of place here in Zionsville, her team truly does improve the quality of life here in Zionsville. So thank you very much, Mindy. And now on to Winterfest. Speaking of improving the quality of life here in Zionsville, this was more than an ice rink. So we were truly able to create a community event that offered something for everyone, and we saw all ages enjoying the time there. So really thank the community for the support and coming out to our event, even when the weather wasn't the best. So again, thank you to our maintenance team. They literally transformed Mulberry Fields day and night, from just a parking lot to an ice rink and attraction in our town. So thank you, maintenance team, once again. And again, thank you to our program staff that turned just an ice rink into a true event in the community, offering opportunities for groups to perform and engage with the public, inviting celebrities like Indy's Fuel and Elsa and Anna the Princesses, as well as stimulating the local economy through vendors and other opportunities in our economic development here. So thank you to program staff. Winterfest by the numbers, we are still receiving some of the data, so we will have a more comprehensive report in February. But the ice rink saw 5,608 skaters hit the ice. Over 2,070 attended the Winterfest programming that Mindy and her staff put on. The Winterfest webpage on the town's website was the most popular page of the year, receiving over 19,000 engagements. And our social media presence with Winterfest had over 11,000 impressions. So we were able to get the word out, and people were inquiring. So we did receive over $19,000 in sponsorships. So we want to thank all of those organizations that helped us pull this off, and brought in $104,512.74 in revenue. That's after transactional fees and other things and refunds. So of that, 79,000 was a one-time expense. And if we remove those, Winterfest operated at approximately 48% cost recovery. So that's a pretty good return for such a large event and a lot of unknowns. So I put an asterisk next to that because we will actually be receiving a couple of credits from Ice America due to our shortened season and just our maintenance team assisting with the load in and load out, as well as some of their staffing that changed over the season. So we'll get a complete report of that in February. So any questions with Winterfest?
Maybe too early to tell, but anything you would change, for next year?
Lots. Yeah.
Lots.
So the most, some of the fun in hindsight looking back is you get to tweak everything and make it even better for next year. So we're beginning to plan that out, and we'll talk a little bit about how that might change for next year in a little bit. So one of our chief complaints was, the portable restrooms aren't fun, especially in the dark, holding your cell phone. So we're working on making that upgrade with maybe the rented trailers that have electricity, and actually changing the layout so we can improve parking and get the ice rink up into the park. So we'll talk about that here in a minute.
How much did those, the days we had of rain impact? How many days were lost? Because I knew there's like a section there about a week where it
Yeah.
was almost rain every day.
Yeah, the weather was definitely not on our side. So again, thank you to the community for still trudging on. We had a lot of middle schoolers that would show up at opening and stay till close. They really love that ice rink. I think we had 4 days impacted by weather officially. We actually postponed the ribbon cutting to the day after, opened late on January 1st, and just some other issues with weather. So that was less than ideal. I would have preferred a white December, but maybe next year.
Yeah, well, it's great. My kids were there 4 or 5 times. I don't recall, but
Oh, excellent.
having a blast every time.
Happy to hear that.
How does the 48% cost recovery compare with what the projections were before Winterfest started?
So a lot of unknowns. We were able to recover. So the majority of that initial investment was from programming fees. And then this revenue was in turn put back into that account. So we did take approximately 15,000 or 19,000 from that fund that did fund this, which we are making back every year with shelter reservations, garden plots, and other programs. From the general fund, we did have to dip into that. Within our operating budget, we had the funds available to pay for this program. So all in all, from the actual tax base, it was about $6.26 per resident. So that includes those one-time expenses as well as the other 52% of that cost equation.
I'm not sure that answers my question, though. How does the 48% recovery compare to what we projected before it started?
Before it started, we were hoping to be neutral with expecting some one-time expenses. So removing that, we are 52% off our margins, but again, a lot of unknowns, the weather. I think this program will become more and more sustainable and have a greater cost recovery every year.
Yeah, this is good for a first year. I mean, it's great for a first year.
Yeah, a true, break-even event was a little optimistic, I'll be honest, but
Yeah.
we were happy with the sponsorships we did receive and hope to increase those next year as well.
Was the feedback from the sponsors that, you feel they'll likely come back, or?
Yeah, we did receive, good information. Lowe's discounted the lumber for the platform just out of the generosity and didn't really ask for much in return. REA designed the platform pro bono and also offered a endorsement. The foundation sponsored the reindeer as well. The Community Tourism Bureau, the CVB, sponsored the hotel stays for our Ice America employees. And our title sponsor, Century 21 Sheets, had a private party and they had a ball and are looking forward to being a title sponsor again. So
How many of those private parties happened? Because
Yep.
I know
So
Union Elementary did one.
yes, so I think out of 14 spots, we filled 6 and only had to refund 1 due to weather. So again, that's lost revenue that would have been nice to have.
Yeah.
But I think with more awareness, I think all those spots will fill out next year, honestly.
I think that the change in the pandemic happened during this period of time too, which had a big impact. Like I got sick and could not go, which was like one of the saddest things about, because we were going to have, there's an ice rink down the street from my house and I couldn't go because I was sick. And I know that a lot of people were dealing with that. So I also think in future years, hopefully when we're past this, that will make a difference too.
And, we did learn a lot. So as we look into 2022, we'll likely shorten this event by a week. So to when school lets out, because that's truly when we saw the numbers increase, obviously, as people were looking for things to do. So there will be some cost savings there as well as we have a shorter season.
And there will also be cost savings in the fact that we don't have to build a new platform and all
Absolutely.
that. So over time, we can expect to break even still. Over a number of
Absolutely.
years.
That is the goal. And I think there's plenty of mechanisms in place that we can get there.
Okay.
And this was all funded again from the Fund 211, which is the revenue we have generated through programs through the years. And again, that model is to create a self-sustaining programming fund that not only supports all of its programs throughout the year, but is independent of any recessions or, restrictions that might come from the taxpaying dollar. So truly creating this autonomous fund to provide these opportunities for the community.
Jared, how did the $104,000 of revenue roughly break down?
So-
What made up the revenue? Where was that coming from? And you had the sponsorships, you had the programs. What else was there?
Yep. So there were sponsorships, programs, our own programming on the park side, which brought in approximately $9,000. 76 of it was from the ice rink. Again, 14,000 in cash from sponsors. 5,000 of that was 5,000 additional in kind. And the rest was from our food vendors and our private rentals. So again, that data is continuing to come in, so I'll have a better breakdown next month.
I know it's early. Were you happy with Ice America?
Yeah, they were great, professional, and always staffed the rink when we needed them. The product they provide, the ice rink was impeccable. Even with a power outage that blew the fuses inside of our chiller, they were able to call someone in Louisville and get them up in 2 hours. And the ice got a little wet on top, but all in all, it remained intact. So we are happy with that partnership. Any other questions with Winterfest? All right, looking forward into 2022, there's 4 principles that were kind of guiding our processes this early stage of planning, and that is to plan, develop, conserve, and adapt. So as we plan, we are currently in the planning charrettes of the Carpenter Nature Preserve Master Plan. So this is the opportunity to partner with the Carpenters who acquired 216 acres of a former golf course with the intent of turning that into a public park. So we have been going through the planning stages of that and are excited to unveil that to the community to begin to receive feedback. That process should wrap up in March, which is about the time we will begin our 5-year master plan. So this document is the guiding document for the next 5 years of our park system, allowing ample public involvement and input to kind of lay out the trajectory of what we want our park system to become. A couple additions that I would like to see included in that is an ADA accessibility audit of our park system. And that's not only of, things that we need to add to improve accessibility, but also taking an inventory of the items and assets we do have in our park system and see how they can be improved to improve accessibility. Also working with to acquire a land acquisition plan. So Zionsville is in a very, unique opportunity that there is obviously urban growth and sprawl that's occurring, but there's still a large portion of the town that is rural. So taking this opportunity to identify those high quality habitats and sections of land that we can identify on the map. And then as development inevitably comes to those rural areas, we can have this document within the planning plan to say, no, we want to conserve this as green space, and we'll work with you to work on your park impact fees to make this a park rather than another house in the development. So identifying those high quality locations and then just having a plan in place to try to conserve them, because once they're gone, they're gone. So to look forward and grab those beforehand. And also an asset lifecycle replacement plan. So Zionsville is fortunate that the majority of our parks are relatively new. Within the last 20 years, most of the assets have come online. But to have a full list of all of our amenities and assets within our park system and a plan and a funding strategy for replacement as those enter the end of their life cycle, I believe is imperative to not only continue to expand, but also keep up the quality that Zionsville expects and has been known in the community. Another planning document we are working on is the forest management plan. Want to give a shout out to Carol Johnson, who assisted with the grant application for the IU resilience cohort. This is now phase 3 of that program, where they will recruit a 10-week intern from IU to come to Zionsville. We were one of 7 towns selected in the state, and they will conduct a comprehensive canopy inventory of our trees throughout Zionsville. Give us an assessment on that so we can have better maintenance and upkeep and planning for the health of our trees within our parkland and also our right-of-ways. So it's not exclusive just to parks. This will be a townwide initiative. And it also identifies areas that require more canopy coverage so we can plan to accommodate that as we acquire parkland in those sections or there's right-of-ways in those areas. So fantastic opportunity. We also have Greg with his experience as an arborist and forestry management. So we will blend that inventory and asset management into our management plan of our forest canopy. This year, we're also going to develop and complete the Zionsville Big 4 Rail Trail throughout our system. So what's kind of neat is that in 1992, the original parcel for the rail trail was acquired. And should we complete this project this year with the northern expansion and the trailhead, that will conclude that 30-year project. It's kind of a cool capstone to the heart of our network of pathways. We're also going to develop arts in the park. So infusing more cultural aesthetics and programming into our park system to grab another user that might not come out to a park for nature. Maybe they have a different interest. So introducing, art displays, murals, and also working on, again, that art programming to attract a new user. And also within the budget are funds to accommodate a new pickleball court. We have heard overwhelming requests for pickleball courts in Zionsville. We are one of the few communities in the area that has very little, if any. So later this evening, we will talk about a plan for new pickleball courts within our park system. We're also going to conserve. Like I mentioned, we will be adding a new team member in the coming weeks, which will be the natural resource technician. And this is a position within the maintenance department that will specifically target more of our natural resources rather than just our parkland and our beds. So they will be combating the invasive species, working on habitat restoration projects, and leading volunteer initiatives to further those missions. So it'll be nice to have this position that can really drive that initiative that program staff and contracted work has historically kind of filled that role. We will also expand our recycling and green initiatives within the park system. We received an additional grant to purchase another recycling and compost receptacle, which we will place in our park system. As well as one of our goals is to establish an IDEM certified composting facility so that we can not only accommodate the community garden plot green waste, but also begin to explore compost within our parks as an opportunity to divert waste. Like I mentioned, the urban canopy inventory will be a part of that IU resilience cohort initiative, as well as we were granted the layer grant this year for an updated Eagle Creek erosion improvement design study. So this work began around 2013 with a previous study that identified 4 project sites along Eagle Creek in Starkey Park. So this updated study will not only look at the 2 remaining sites to see if anything needs to change within that scope, but also begin to look at overly warming shorelines so we can fortify those where the erosion is occurring. So as this program is going to, stop trails from having to be rerouted, we're not going to lose our park to erosion, and we'll have healthier streams, which ultimately Eagle Creek leads to our drinking water. So it's good for the community. Another initiative is to also identify hardscaped areas that we can convert back into edge habitat. So identifying those areas that make sense to convert from grass to pollinator gardens, to bioswales, things that remain soggy for most of the year or are inaccessible to the public anyways. Let's find a purpose for them rather than just being mowed down by maintenance. So we're looking to expand that. And that also plays a critical role in the green infrastructure throughout our town. So species can traverse and interact and have a place to live. And finally, we are going to adapt the way we approach things. So it's been a personal goal to always improve the accessibility within our park system, not only on a physical means with the new study for ADA compliance, but also and the Hoop House project, which will have raised beds so that they're more accessible to our community, but also expanding our programming to think about what barriers we still have within our park system that we can remove so truly everyone can play, whether that's mobility or cognition. We want to identify those groups that specialize with those communities and make sure we're also reaching out to them and contacting them. So really looking to expand that. And finally, our scholarship program to ensure that a financial barrier is not going to keep anyone from participating in our program. So we've had early talks with the Parks Foundation on establishing that scholarship program, and I believe we will have that in place for our summer camp program. So any families that might be hesitant to register, we hope to have this in place by then. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you all. I want to thank Zionsville. We have the best job in the world. We get to come here and serve you and connect people with nature, connect people with green space, and get to have fun doing it. So honestly, I want to thank you all. That's all for our 2021 wrap up.
Thanks, Jared.
Any questions?
I guess one question about the golf course and what we can reasonably expect for an opening date on the golf course, given the construction work that still needs to be done on the cart paths.
We actually just had a conversation with the contractor this week, and they are full attention on the first opportunity they get to go out there, they will. And honestly, the biggest factor is how wet of a spring we're going to have. So if temperatures warm up and we're not receiving a lot of precipitation, they are confident they can get in there and finish the project promptly. So we've also discussed alternatives. Should it be a particularly wet season, with opening the golf course with stone in place, and then when it is appropriate to pave, closing for 1 to 3, maybe 5 days and paving those remaining sections. So we are looking at that. It's obviously evolving with real world situations. So we are hoping to have the best strategy in place and impact the season minimally.
Did you send a copy of that presentation out? I would like to look at it again.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you, Jared. I mean, you lose track of how much and how busy we are sometimes. So it's nice at least once a year here in January to really detail the accomplishments and all that you've done for the Parks Department here in the 15 months you've been here. So thanks to you for your leadership of a great group within the department.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the next agenda item. Overly Warman Park and the change order.
There's one item above that, the 2022 Trail and Park Improvement Project. Is that not on your copy?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not what we just watched.
Oh, no, that was the 2021 year-end review.
Okay, all right, okay,
We're looking at 2022 now.
all right.
So we are looking to make some lemonade out of the lemons that were dealt through various delays in the overall planning and execution of the rail trail program. Obviously, land acquisition always takes time, and then on top of that, delays. So we have the unique opportunity to bundle all of our active projects into one, offering an economy of scales as far as unit prices, as well as more competition as it becomes a more enticing package. So what I'm proposing tonight is to bundle the Southern Trailhead, the Rail Trail Widening Project, which we discussed in December, as well as the Northern Expansion, all into one bundle. Now, obviously, a project of this scale requires coordinating with the contractor to make sure we're working with them to minimize the impact to the community. Taking out 3 miles of rail trail is going to be a burden. So this will sequence after the Southern Rail Trail is back open. But I think we're truly going to be the best stewards of the bond dollars and the taxpayers' dollars by bundling these together. That project already includes the Carter Station pathway project as well, which was quoted within the December Park Board meeting as well. And then I would also like to suggest that we add a couple of other projects to this, which will be funded through the appropriations of 2022. So the first of which is within the dog park, adding 2 accessible walking loops so that all users can enter the dog park regardless of their ability. This will also offer an opportunity for our dog park permit holders to activate the entire 3 acres. So unfortunately, what we're seeing is a lot of people walk in the gate, throw a Frisbee or something, and their dog enjoys the space, but they're kind of huddled towards that entrance. So this will be an opportunity for them to get moving as well, with mileage markers on the loops to kind of track your progress, as well as, again, providing that accessible route. So this project will be funded through dog park revenue from the 2021 season and 2022 season, and lumping it in with this larger paving project. Again, the rail trail will be going right by on Heritage Trail Park. So this is a great thing to include in that, similar to how we are the Carter Station project. Another project I'd like to include is an accessible pathway from the Lions Park loop over to our tennis and pickleball courts there at Lions Park. Again, providing that accessible route for those players that might be in a wheelchair but still want to enjoy the game of pickleball or tennis. So providing that opportunity. And then concerning pickleball, let's see if this screen pops up. So this was actually a fantastic idea from one of our maintenance staff, Rick Hypes, about moving the ice skating rink out of the parking lot. And with that would require some form of flat surface. So where that star is where we're proposing to develop 4 pickleball courts in a linear fashion, utilizing the existing infrastructure of the power transformer that's there, as well as the sidewalks to get there. And then as the weather turns mid-November, we will pull the fences from the pickleball court and utilize that flat surface as our platform for Winterfest, getting us out of the parking lot, opening up those spaces, as well as allowing the platform to be reused to get us out of the mud. So one of the chief complaints of Winterfest was the fact that half of our park gets quite soggy when it rains throughout the month. So this would provide us an opportunity to get out of the mud, repurpose those structures for walking surface and additional lace-up area, as well as creating the entire event flowing on that one half of the park. So we would close the roundabout similar to this year, and then ice skating would be where the star is. We would still activate those other shelters and have our holiday village in the back. So just improving what we've learned upon from the 2021 season and creating an amenity that can be changed throughout the year and repurposed on the off season. So by combining bid documents and also reducing the scope of the Northern Rail Trail expansion from 15 feet to 12 foot and conducting additional topographic surveys along the rail trail and the design for these pickleball courts, the accessible pathways at the dog park and the Lions Park accessible pathway. We have an amendment to our previous agreement with REA to provide these services, these new services, and combine it into one project for $40,500. So I would like to request approval of this amendment to implement and begin the design of these subsequent projects to fold into the larger paving and rail trail project for the year.
Jared, I'm supportive of all the little additions for REA to look at here. The one thing I wanted to clarify was the topographical survey. What's the purpose of that? And that was a fairly big number item. What was it? 24?
24.
And that is included in that incremental 40. I wanted to ask you whether that's the case.
Yes, yep, 24 of that 40 was that additional topographic survey, and we have Tricia of Runsdale, Ersberger and Associates to kind of clarify what that means exactly.
REA is easier. Tricia McClellan with REA. Yes, the survey is included in that, and that is for a surveyor to actually give us a topographic survey. So we'll be able to, there's some drainage issues along the widening. We'll be able to address those issues, knowing where to drain, you know, where the areas are holding water. So it's giving us grades, gives us the existing edge of the trail, which won't be as big of a deal, but it really is the grading that becomes the issue, to be sure that we're draining water away from the trail or holding it, you know, where we need to in appropriate places. So that topographic survey was kind of large, but it's, what did you say, was it 2.5 miles for that, for the widening? Is that close to that 2.25 miles of trail that they're actually surveying? Does that
Trish,
answer-
formally, the amendment is to the north extension design contract. So does this change? We still have the widening design contract that you guys are nearing completion on, I guess. So yeah, compare and contrast the two, north with widening.
We could, so it does include getting everything into one package. Right now, there's separate bid sets, bid drawings, specs, you know, all of that. So it includes pulling all those in together and the trailhead, and then these other little projects, the design for those, into one big bid set for contractors. We added it to the north extension if just for our bookkeeping purposes, if it's easier for you guys, for us to add that amendment to the widening project, we can do that also. That's completely up to you guys. It really gets it so everything's wrapped into one. We're still using the monies from the north contract with REA and the monies from the widening, you know, for those design. It's just a little bit extra for that effort to pull everything into one large bid set, which then goes into one large, you know, construction administration, you know, and on down the line. Does that answer your question, Tim?
Yeah, it does. It's not important. I think it's fine to have it as an addition or amendment to the north. I just wanted to clarify that that we do have a design contract underway with REA on the widening, and that's still there, and that the project does get all folded together when we try to bid it all out together.
It does, and we'll definitely include notes with everything, because you're still going to get invoices from us for all those different projects. Yeah. Yes, it does help with the DNR grant, because portions of this are not included. So we have to be sure we've got everything separate for when that reimbursement documentation is sent to DNR.
So in the end, the price to us isn't going to be any different. It's just a matter of your bookkeeping and your organizing of the bid package.
Where we put it, yes, exactly.
Okay.
Jared, in grouping all these together, in the event that we have to reject a bid and we don't, have another option due to budget or whatever, how will that impact the timeline on these smaller ones? If we're not able to group it all together and get it bid under our parameters and accept that, then by grouping these, is that going to push those out if we can't do it? I mean, it's hypothetical, I guess, but
Concerning the the smaller projects.
yeah,
that are being added.
the smaller add-ons, in addition to the big ones, if we add those on and group it together, we can't accept that bid, then does that push these main ones? It'll push those out further?
They would be pulled apart, and then probably, I guess that depends on our timeline. So obviously the priority is the grant project, which is funded. We have until May 2023 to complete. So beginning this project in the spring after bidding, we could give them until, February to complete all of these projects and specify, the sequencing we would kind of prefer for that to make sure these grant projects are on point. But concerning pulling these out, I think that would just be, it would still be doable. We would still pursue it. It's funded, would just cost more money, multiple contractors with their,
So I guess what I'm saying is just making sure that by pulling these smaller projects in, it's not going to tip the scales, or we can't accept that bid to make sure we get under the window of these grant,
oh, okay.
Those
Yeah.
grant build times that we have.
So there is, I guess I'm a little confused, but I want to talk this through. So there is funding in place for all of these add-ons.
Right.
And as well as the grant funds. So by combining, it just makes that package a little bit more enticing to a contractor. So we might actually attract more
So
competition.
you've got a better chance of getting more competitive
Yeah.
bids than a work. Okay.
And, by our time of year, we were kind of projecting to bid out the the trailhead and the northern expansion now, this meeting or the previous, and get that rolling so that we could have had as these contractors were making their schedule, they would have put us towards the top of their queue. Well, with land acquisitions, everything got delayed just a little bit. So now we have this opportunity to bundle everything, make it a little bit more enticing. So they'll find the room in their schedule to book this as well. That's the hope.
John, we will have to account very carefully for the expenses that contractor, whoever wins the contract, spends, because so that we can appropriately apply bond funds or grant funds or general fund funds. There may be differences in how it's funded.
And that'll be working with REA to specify all of those, which we're already doing with our current projects. For example, Overly Warman has the Land Water Conservation Fund grant for $200,000. So again, we need to pull out those items specifically so we can write a reconciliation to DNR, as well as use our own bond dollars for the other portions of that project. So it's kind of our normal practice to separate these things and keep everything accountable and transparent. And the goal is to have this as one of our only 2 construction projects for the year. So the other one would be if we can find someone to make our carpentry improvements to the Turkey footbridge. If you'll recall, we bid that out twice last year to no avail. We couldn't find a contractor, so we will approach that again this year and attempt to complete that task.
Need a motion to accept the proposed amendment?
Yes, yep.
Okay, would anybody like to make a motion to accept the proposed amendment?
I will make a motion to accept the proposed amendment.
Do we have a second?
I will.
Sorry, Tim.
Well, I guess Jill was in first, so we'll take her second and we'll take a vote. Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Mullenberg.
Aye.
Tim Cassidy,
Aye.
Sarah Moore,
Aye.
and I say aye as well. So it passes unanimously. Thank you, Trish.
Moving on to the Overly Warman change order. Have some great, good news to share with the group. So the boardwalk has been an issue with the implementation and the construction. The helical pylons, right? Helical piers, that's right. The helical piers that have been drove into the sands are not getting the compaction rate they need. So we need that compaction rate to build the boardwalk that was to surround Overly Warman's fishing pond. Recall that at Overly Warman, there was the fishing pond as well as the fishing pier as well as the boardwalk. Sorry, let me pull this up. So from that, we've revised the scope, and rather than having the boardwalk from the western edge on this screen, it kind of looks like the southern, up to where the project is. We are going to transform that into a second fishing pier and overlook, utilizing the lumber that is already purchased to complete that, and keeping the boardwalk on the screen. It's kind of the top right, keeping that portion of the boardwalk and using a new type of helical pier that has saw teeth in it. So we will obtain that better compaction and complete the project. So with this revision, we will actually receive a credit of $101,061.04. The other change order of this evening is Mount Eleanor, as we call it. It is the stockpile of dirt that has been forming from the project, which has grown quite a bit during the earthwork stage. We have requested a change order to provide the work to level that out and actually provide additional park space near our more developed portion of the park, lending itself to opportunities like raised community garden beds, future restroom and splash pad, or some other occupancy of that open space. So with that project, to perform that work, we are looking at $88,244.47. So with these two change orders in place, we will remain with a credit of $12,816.57, which will be utilized elsewhere in the project. So taking off our final cost. So happy to answer any questions about this.
I like how you hit us with the 115K credit first.
What's that?
You got us with the 115K credit
Yeah.
first. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
So the 88,000 is just to flatten a large pile of dirt?
Push a very, very large pile of dirt and,
Okay.
and grade it so that it is flush with kind of the development that's happened,
Okay.
which, yeah, again, is going to provide more park space to our, kind of the developed portion of the park where people are going to see, well, what did our bond dollars, get us? That's one of the main things they're going to focus on. So it's nice to have a bigger space there.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that cost to move that dirt on par with what the initial cost to move dirt was? Or are they charging a bit more because it's a big pile of dirt? We have nothing else to do with it.
I believe they use the same unit prices, correct? So
Okay.
it's within the contract,
Okay.
utilizing those same unit prices. It's calculating the cubic feet of that pile and what it costs to properly grade that.
Pile does include a lot of, it does include a lot of trash too, right? I mean, it'll all be buried and
The
they're
final
not going to come back to us and want another change order and want more money to do that, right? I mean, that's all figured in.
Yep, this is the change order for that portion of the project. So any unknowns, we have worked with this contractor a lot. Again, first with the steel prices, which doubled twice before the contract was kind of signed from the original bid. So we worked with them and we've been very cooperative throughout the process, but it's getting down to the brass tacks where we need this project done. So we will
Okay.
keep them on track.
Do we need a resolution on this change order?
Since the one project is 88,000, we will need a motion to accept both change orders, resulting in a credit of $12,816.57.
Doesn't seem like it's very often that a change order or a couple of change orders result in a net gain for us. So I would go ahead and propose that we accept both of those change orders and accept our good fortune of having a bit of a gain in that process. Do we have a second?
Second.
I will second
Sure.
that motion.
Okay, now we'll take Sarah Moore's second. I guess there's an advantage to being present, Tim. Sorry about that. But we'll take a vote now, a roll call vote. Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Wallenberg,
Aye.
Sarah Moore,
Aye.
Tim Cassidy,
Aye.
and I say aye as well. All right, on to the next item.
All right. The Memorial Dosh donation program was very successful in the 2021 year season, so much so that we sunset it and had to take a look at our park system to see where we still required benches or trees. So this request tonight is for a bench at Elm Street Green, as well as a memorial tree for a resident's granddaughter that recently passed away. So we are proud that they would want to make that memoriam in our park system, and with your approval, we'll get that rolling.
All right, would anyone like to make a motion that we,
I'll make a motion that we accept the current memorial donation for Elm Street Green.
okay, we have a motion from John Wallenberg to accept the memorial donation request. Do we have a second? Tim, would you like to second?
Well, let me unmute. Yeah, I'll second that.
All right, so we have a motion and a second, and now we'll take a roll call vote. Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Wallenberg,
Aye.
Sarah Moore,
Aye.
Tim Cassidy,
Aye.
and I say aye as well. That passes unanimously.
Jared, out of curiosity, where do we have space left for either benches or trees? Or are you going to evaluate that this year before we bring that back? Or
Yeah, so we took a look at all of our parks. So as these requests come in, we will further explore where that can accommodate it.
Yeah.
The nice thing about Elm Street Green is it does have the paved walking path. So we're actually going to put a concrete pad under this bench and to the side so that an accessible wheelchair could pull up the side and sit with their guests at this location. So again, incorporating, making sure everybody has a place in our park system.
Maybe all these new pavings, we were just making more area for our benches.
That's true.
Okay, yep.
Just a couple more items and we'll get you out the door here. Just an update on under old business for the rail trail southern expansion. So the project was halted by a water line that was discovered. It was a 1937 cast iron main that is still in service. So obviously demolitions of a bridge would cause concern for the rupturing of that pipe. So we were able to work with citizens and they promptly were able to get on site and reroute that water main for us, kind of doing both of us a favor. So the project has resumed and we are looking at a February opening of the Starkey Avenue road as well as the bridge placement. We will open up the trail as a soft trail throughout the spring. And then again, when it is time to pave, we'll close, complete the paving as well as overlay warmants, and then open up that southern portion of our park system again. So we are excited to wrap up that southern expansion soon. And again, the Starkey SP3 staircase should be completed mid-February with final inspections, and we will open that up at that same time. So I've walked up and down it a couple of times. It is quite the improvement from the old set. So we're looking forward to our first canine companions to go up and down it.
Is there anything else?
That's it for now.
All right. Well, moving on then to other board-related items. The one thing that I've been talking about with everybody is the emails and us all getting a town-branded email address and to start using that address for all parks business. Amy, would you like to speak to why that's important?
Sure, yes. As you all know, as a public body subject to the open door laws and the Access to Public Records Act, your emails pertaining to town business are public records. So it's always better to keep them separate, I recommend, from your private email. Now, just because they're on your private email doesn't open up your entire email to a public record. It's only those emails that relate to public business. But to keep that separate is, I think, in your best interest.
Okay, so everybody has a town email address now, and if you don't know how to access it, please contact Joe Rust. He will help you access it. I know he talked to a few of us tonight on getting that done, but we need to do that starting now, moving forward. And also, it's been a tradition in the past of the board to appoint someone to Pathways Committee at the first meeting of the year. And Sarah has been on the Pathways Committee for the past year and would like to continue in that role. So if there's no other objections or no further problems with that, I'd like to just go ahead and reappoint you to the Pathways Committee for this year. And maybe as we go through the year once or twice, you can give us an update on what the Pathways Committee is doing so we can get a little more up to speed on what's going on there.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. And we do have the 5-year plan coming up this year. We'll talk about that at the next meeting a little more in a little more detail, but that'll be a bit of a heavy lift for a couple of board members, and we can talk about who we're going to be assigning to that to take a active role on that. That's going to be something that's going to come over many months or several months and several public meetings, and that's going to be very involved. And that really is going to inform where the board is going to go in the next couple of years. So that's a very important process that we do once every 5 years. So that is coming up next month as well. Is there anything else that anybody would like to talk about? Okay, then we'll move on to claims. Has everyone had a chance to look over the claims? And is there anything that anyone would like to say about the claims or any concerns?
How's the new system coming? I feel bad every month. It's like
Yeah, it's, I apologize for the delays in those. We are working with finance each month to try to get those out
Yeah.
as quickly as possible.
What is the system?
The new OpenGov system, which is a suite package that we implemented in 2021, and it's, you know, with any new software, there's obviously bumps, but
Yeah.
one of the biggest issues is the fact that we're utilizing a P card system, which makes transactions much easier for our employees throughout the day. They can run to Kroger and get food for our nature center animals. They can run to Acres or Lowe's to get some maintenance equipment, and they don't have to worry about petty cash or anything like that. So that system at this point is independent of the new operating software for finance. So that manually has to be imported each month, which is, as you can imagine, with a full department of P cards, it takes a while to transfer and code over. So
We
that is,
changed, at the library, we changed our accounting system in 2020, and we're still having issues with it, so I feel that. And the credit card part was the hardest part because of they import 1 month, but you pay them another month. and
yeah,
that's
it's always a
difficult
month
for them.
behind. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we were told by the financial package that they are working on incorporating the true credit card system in, so it won't be a manual process. But again, that's Q2, Q3. So we will try to get those claims out as quickly as possible. And if you have any questions,
Yeah, thanks for the extra work. I just feel
Yep.
bad. I feel like every month it's just causing extra.
no, our finance team is small but mighty, and they are churning these out for everybody. So
Should we expect a delay given the change in the town's finance department?
so we are without a CFO right now. So perhaps when that position is filled, things could change again. So taking it all in stride.
Right, do I have a motion then to accept the claims as they are presented?
I make that motion.
We have a motion from Jill Pack to accept the claims as they are presented to us. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Sarah Moore seconds that, so let's take a vote on the claims. Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Wallenberg.
Aye.
Sarah Moore,
Aye.
Tim Cassidy.
I did not receive them for some reason, so I'll abstain.
Okay, and I will vote aye on the claims. So thank you for that. All right, is there anything else that anyone would like to bring up before we ask for a motion to adjourn? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
John Wallenberg makes a motion that we adjourn this meeting. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Jill Pack seconds it. And because we have Tim on remote, we need to take a roll call vote on that. So let's go ahead and take that vote. Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Wallenberg,
Aye.
Sarah Moore,
Aye.
Tim Cassidy,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Thank you very much, everybody. The next meeting is February 9th, I believe, February 9th. And we'll see you then, and we'll be talking to you more between now and then. Thank you very much, and good night.
All right, everyone.
Okay.